2 gallery. This time we're going to talk about the Eagle Squadrons. This is a series of organizations that Americans don't largely know about. When the Battle of Britain was going on, there was a shortage of pilots. And people realized that the United States had a lot of people who could fly airplanes. A man by the name of Sullivan decided with Billy Bishop, a Canadian, that they should recruit Americans to fly in the battle against the Germans. And they formed with an artist by the name of Clayton Knight to form the Clayton Knight Committee, where they recruited pilots all across the United States. They had something like 6,000 applications. They eventually settled on about 250 men. They wanted people that had about 300 hours of flying time. And the oldest man they got was 38 years old. He was a highly qualified pilot. And the youngest man was 15 years old. His father signed a release to allow his son to join. And when they were joining the RAF. They were joining the Royal Air Force. They were largely trained in England or in Canada, and some 40 to 50 were trained in Glendale, California. They were trained as pilots, and they trained in the Miles Master, subsequently went to the Hurricane, and then finally to the Spitfire. They flew both models. They organized into 3 squadrons over a period of time. The first one was 71 Squadron, which I think this is a representative of 71 Squadron. And then they formed 121 Squadron and finally 133 Squadron. They were subsequently taken over in 1942, September 1942. The American Army Air Corps came in and they took over these squadrons. The squadrons 71, 121, and 133 subsequently became the 334th, the 335th, and the 336th of the 4th Air Force. And today, those 3 squadrons, the 334th, 35th, and 36th, are flying F-15s out of Seymour Johnson. They flew substantially of the 244 men who flew with the Eagle Squadrons. By the way, they wore an RAF uniform, but they had an Eagle Squadron patch on their right shoulder. About 100 of the men died. There was a lot of battle. They fought not only low-level missions, what they call rhubarbs, or they flew rodeo missions, were escorting bombers. By the way, this exhibit was put together about 1980 or 1981. It was the first exhibit put together. And behind me is a Spitfire. The ones they actually flew were the Series 2 and Series 5 Spitfires, or V. This is actually a later model Spitfire, which we obtained some time ago. I think at one point it had been what they call it, a gate guard outside of some base in England. This exhibit is in the background is what was called a Nissen hut, N-I-S-S-E-N. We would have called it a Quonset hut, but the Nissen hut, I think it's a little smaller, and this was built to replicate it. We are now inside the Nissen hut, which was a representative of the forward alert areas where the Eagle Squadron men awaited alert to go fly missions against the Germans, either as air defense or as going. And one fellow told me it was really a lot of fun to shoot up trains. He really liked that because of the results with the large explosion. The hut is, as you can see, as you pan around here, we have several cases with information in them and some paintings. And up at the ceiling, you look at the ceiling at all, you will see that there's a lot of model airplanes hanging from the ceiling. I've noticed over years of talking to people, when I ask what these are, people don't quite understand it. They would have these models like this and hanging from the ceiling so the pilots could recognize the outline of another aircraft in the area and be able to identify what it was in order to shoot down the right person, the right airplanes. Some of them are German airplanes, some are American airplanes. In the cases, we have one side, basically German. That's actually a 262 jet, and over here is an ME-109 cockpit. A lot of these things were donated by former members of the Eagle Squadrons. At the other end of we have the picture. In the middle of the picture, there's a gentleman it just says Pete. That was Colonel Peterson, Chesley Peterson. Chesley Peterson was a very successful fighter pilot with the Eagle Squadrons, and when the American Air Force came in, he became a full colonel. He was 23 years old. Compliance is at the San Diego Air and Space Museum, where they have 1 million artifacts, it seems like sometimes, and more appearing every day. And they all have stories.